So Texas Men's Roller Derby has been playing it's been a huge weekend for them and a huge year for them since forming the team.
Yeah, coming in as an unknown and then coming up against a current #1 ranked seed and putting in the best game so far an opponent has had against them this season definitely shows that they are meant to be here. And now they're out there to steal that bronze medal. They want to take it home. What a way that would be to end the year for Texas. Of course, New York Stock Exchange on the other side of the coin also wants to take home that bronze medal, so they're going to give them just as much fight as they did earlier on in the championship bouts.
Right, the Stock Exchange, of course, being no stranger to any medaling games at MRDA championships. Out on the jam line right now, we've got Jonathan R. in white and Dr. Feelgood in black. Jonathan R. getting nudged to the outfield by number 68, Diamond. He's going to restart at the back of the pack as Dr. Feelgood looks for it up front. Lead jammer, Texas Outlaws.
Jonathan R. gets up front, just 2 more to beat as the pack starts to get away from him. He's out and ready to score. Dr. Feelgood now back around, but knocked to the outfield by Wyatt. And he's going to call it 1 point on the board for Texas.
Woo, 1 point jam. I always love the first jam of the game because I'm like, and now is the jam.
And there's nothing else to say yet except for, wow, that was only 1 point.
Right, only a single point jam. Of course, Jonathan R. Putting on the pressure to force that call off. We've got Carnage Asada out in front and lead. He is jamming against Lucky Charmer, number 8.
And Lucky Charmer trying to get out of that pack, but he was pushed to the infield, and now he's stuck at the back as Carnage Asada already around and all the way through. That's going to put 5 in the sky for the Stock Exchange.
Back in the pack, Lucky Charmer tussling with number 125, Malcolm Sex. He tries to find his way up, and he does clear the pack, ready to score points for Texas. Carnage Asada breaks free from the pack, picks up 4 points, calls off the jam. 9-1 now with 28:15 on that clock.
And coming up next on the La Beta Roller Derby jam line is going to be number 275, I Am Havoc for the Stock Exchange in white, and number 151, The Enabler in black for Texas. Lots of back and forth movement there as both jammers looking for purchase. And we're getting a tip off to the penalty box for a misconduct, and now a cutting the track penalty on I Am Havoc. He's off to the penalty box. Power jam for Texas.
Havoc looking to move his feet, and he was too close to the inside line, and his skate just tripped right over that rope, and he didn't notice. Back here in the pack, towards the rear, you have the Enabler fighting his way up. That's G.I. Joel coming in to assist him.
He is taken to the infield and recycled. But he starts his journey back through the pack. Again on that inside line, he's driven out. And number 0, Sammy Dangerfield, off to the penalty box. So Stock Exchange losing a blocker just as Texas gains a blocker back. But decent penalty kill there by the Stock Exchange as I Am Havoc is back from the penalty box.
The Enabler using basically all of that power jam to become lead jammer. I Am Havoc back in and looking to wreak havoc on that Dallas defense. He goes ahead and remains cognizant of that rope this time. Goes back in and does a no pass, no penalty in front of Diamond. Diamond backing up just a little too far behind the pack as the Enabler comes through with 4 points.
I Am Havoc continuing to take a beating now, knocked into the outfield as the Enabler comes into the pack right through the middle of the Stock Exchange wall. That's another 5 points on the board. We've got another lead change already, just 3 jams in. The Havoc still has a star in hand now, perhaps hoping that Dallas will forget he's there. The Enabler is going to go ahead and call off the jam. 0-0 on the last pass.
10-0 in that last jam in favor of the Outlaws. 11-9 now. We've got a 2-point game, 25-38 left in the first half. La Beta Roller Derby, we bout that life since 1969.
And don't forget, if you love all the championship action coming at you on WFTDA.tv, WFTDA Championships will be held in sunny St. Paul, Minnesota, November 6th through the 8th. Top 12 teams from Division 1 and 4 finalists from Division 2. Check it out right here on WFTDA.tv.
On the jam line now, we've got Jonathan R. for the New York Stock Exchange up against Buster, number 86 for Texas. Jonathan R. is still fighting his way through the pack on his initial pass. He does get out, though, and is the lead jammer. Buster, though, breaking free and ready to score.
It looked like Jonathan R. was clawing his way out with his skates there to just break the front wall of that pack. Now he's in again, fighting for those points. He does get 3 and has to call it off before Buster can hit the pack.
2 points for Jonathan R., or 3 points for Jonathan R., means the Stock Exchange pull ahead by 1 point. We've had our second lead change of the game in 4 jams. Bangers and Smash, I predict that won't be the last one.
I am good with that prediction. I have a feeling that both of these teams are going to keep switching back and forth unless we see something change up and more jammer penalties are given up. I have a feeling that these jammers are good jammer matchups that are happening out there right now. Speaking of that,
Carnage Asada on the line in white and out in front in black. The one to call. Dr. Feelgood is your lead jammer. Carnage
Asada stuck behind that 4 wall as Miscommunication and I are bumping into each other. Dr. Feelgood, though, penetrates right through the middle of that pack for 5 more points on the board for Texas. Lead change.
Yet another lead change. Carnage Asada still tied up behind those Outlaws at the OK Corral. Dr. Feelgood, though, at the back of the pack. New York Stock Exchange locking it down, but Feelgood doing the little inside on the tippy toes deal and picking up 4 points for the Outlaws.
Now, as Carnage Asada gets recycled, he does pull off the helmet cover. It looks like he may be attempting to pass it off to Abe Drinkin, but they're keeping them separated in the pack there, so they're not able to quite get it to happen. And now Carnage has gotten some headway through the pack. 1 more to beat, and he's out and eligible to score.
We've got a forearm penalty being dealt out to number 32, Kyle Divers. Asada out and ready to spice things up in the pack, but before he can, Feelgood calls off the jam. 2 additional points for Texas. It's 12 points total on the jam, 23-12. Texas on top. 22 minutes and 34 seconds left on that clock.
Up on the jam line next for Texas, number 151, the Enabler, and for the Stock Exchange, number 275, I Am Havoc. I Am Havoc gets up front quick and then goes down, facing off against that 2 wall. Forearm on number 57, Johnny Turbo. He's off to the Roller Derby Elite penalty box.
And that is Lucky Charmer out there with the start for Texas. And he picks up a track cut just as we get his name right.
But it looks like he did also get that lead call before that happened, so we have no lead jammer as I Am Havoc does break the pack but does not get lead. He's back around for score, though, looking to change things up once again in the Stock Exchange favor, but he's going to pick up a cutting the track penalty as well, so we're going to play a little bit of Jammer musical chair.
As I Am Havoc hits that Derby Elite penalty box, only 2 Dallas blockers out there to assist Lucky Charmer. And number 57, Johnny Turbo, comes back in as well. Lucky Charmer through with a little bit of a twist, and he was already sitting on some points. He has 5 points now for that scoring pass. 46 seconds left in the jam as I Am Havoc released from the penalty box.
Lucky Charmer looking to just bulldoze his way up the line and out, and he does. He's right into the pack, and then he jukes to the outside and around for all 5 points on that pass. I Am Havoc currently still stuck in the pass, just taking a beating from the Texas blockers.
That was Rhino with a little nudge to the outfield on I Am Havoc. I Am Havoc forced to step to the back, and we've got a forearm penalty for Lucky Charmer. And he will head to the Derby Elite penalty box.
And the jam comes to an end just after I Am Havoc recovers from being knocked into the field. Now, I Am Havoc did pick up all 5 points on that pass. 3 points for Lucky Charmer before he went to the box. A total of 5-13 on the jam, advancing Texas ahead of Shock Exchange 17-36 with 20 minutes remaining in the bout. Or, I'm sorry, in this half.
Sometimes when we're an hour ahead of our normal time zone, we think we're from the future. Jonathan R. on the line for the New York Shock Exchange. He is, of course, up against the boxed Lucky Charmer.
And Jonathan R. driven out there, and that was number 1775, G.I. Joel, with that nice hit, recycling him all the way back.
Jonathan R. looking for it at the top of the pack. He's got 2 to beat now. G.I. Joel being joined by number 68, Diamond, at the top of the pack. They finally forced Jonathan R. out, but that's a forearm for G.I. Joel. And I'm just going to say, hashtag worth it.
That is a good hashtag to use, too. Now, both jammers out of the pack at about the same time. Interesting, Jonathan R. gets lead jammer, but Lucky Charmer back from the box and right on his tail. He gets in front of him. He forces the call off. 0-0 on the jam. We stay right at the same score with a little bit less time on the clock.
This is the defense that we saw almost flummox your mom in the semifinal game earlier today. Dallas being very efficient on their penalty kills when they're focused and not getting penalties themselves.
That is a very fair statement, and I very much agree with that. Dallas has everything they need to take this game in their hands. They just got to make sure they stay out of that penalty box.
For the first time in this game, we've got Kembo Slice, number 9, jamming for New York, up against the Enabler, number 151.
And Kembo Slice finds his way out, lead jammer to the Shock Exchange. And he's already back around, ready to score, as now Shock Exchange holding the Enabler in the outside of the track. And Kenbo with just 1 to beat. There he's through for 5 points on the board for the Shock Exchange.
And Dallas will lose Tip to the penalty box, number 5. I Don't Care Bear for New York headed to the box as well earlier, 1983. He'll go ahead and sit. The Enabler at the back of the pack fighting against those gentlemen in white. The Enabler gets knocked to the infield.
Yeah, Wolverine and Malcolm Sex just sitting on him and not giving him much purchase at all. Now Kenbo Slice getting up to the front side of the pack. They're starting to stretch out and cause that Texas bridge, but they're able to knock him out as well. He's going to recycle, and that was number 68, Diamond, with it, but Diamond picks up a back block on that hit.
Diamond needing to watch it there. This is his 3rd trip to the Derby Elite penalty box as Kembo Slice picks up 5 points on the track. The Enabler still on his initial pass with 38 seconds left in the jam. The Enabler fighting his way around. He does finally get purchase on exiting the pack. Kembo Slice being forced to recycle like he's from Austin and calls off the jam. 3 more points for Kembo Slice puts Dallas at 30. Or Dallas at 36 and 30 for the New York Shock Exchange.
Radar Wheels is a proud supporter of men's derby and the MRDA, and it's also the best wheel for nailing all types of stops. Nail your stops, presto.
And stepping to the jammer line for this jam, we've got number 86, Buster for Texas, up against 833 degrees Fahrenheit, Carnage Asada. Carnage Asada up at the top of the pack, and the pack is in the rear. They're out of play, and Carnage Asada is your lead jammer.
And sneaking around on the outside, Buster finds his way through as Carnage Asada comes back into the pack. Then a big hit delivered by number 18, Uncle Jesse McNasty. He's going to call off that jam. It was kind of cool. You saw Carnage stand up, point at Uncle Jesse McNasty, and laugh about that because that forced that call off. New York did pick up 3 points, which puts us to a 3-point game now, 33-36.
3-point game for third place.
Exciting.
I like threes.
Threes. There's a lot of threes on the board right now.
And in other obvious things that I can point out to you here today, Dr. Feelgood is on the line for Texas. He is jamming against I Am Havoc.
And now he's lead jammer. That inside line just opened right up. Lead jammer goes to Texas. I Am Havoc still struggling to get out there. One more to beat on that outside line, but he is knocked out by G.I. Joel. As Dr. Feelgood comes back, that outside line opens right up for him. 5 points go on the board for Texas.
Right now, that Derby Elite penalty box is empty. We've got 4 blockers for each team and 2 jammers out there. Dr. Feelgood looking to juke around the outside, but number 164, Carl LeFou, says nope, and forces him to the back of the pack. On the same token, I Am Havoc being knocked to the outfield as well, and we're going to have a little skatey backwards.
And next up, folks, couple skate. Both jammers get back on the track and get started. Looked like I Am Havoc was faking the star pass for a second there as he works his way through, almost through on 1 foot. But he's able to recover right up, and just 1 to beat now at the front side. And there it goes. That's going to be an out-of-play penalty on number 32. Kyle Divers off to the Derby Elite penalty box.
Dr. Feelgood still up in the pack on his second scoring pass. He goes ahead and completes that for an additional 4 points and calls off the jam. Texas once again pulling ahead a little bit, 45-33. We've got 13 minutes left in the half. Neither of these teams are really wanting to give the other an upper hand. And really, I think what it's going to be is we're going to watch these 2 teams hammer on each other defensively, and it's basically going to come down to that penalty box and how many trips those blockers make.
You're right, and right now both teams are actually playing really clean. When I'm looking at the penalty box, there are very few people that have more than 2 on the board. Let's talk about who's out there right now jamming, though. We've got Jonathan R., lead jammer for the Shock Exchange, and Lucky Charmer still stuck in the pack for Texas.
Lucky Charmer caught up at the top of the pack. Jonathan R. jukes around number 18, Uncle Jesse McNasty, and picks up a grand slam. Lucky Charmer, though, out and ready to score.
Jonathan R. comes back in, flips around. He's going to wait just a second to see where things are. He does pick up 3 points on the pass, calls off the jam before Texas can put any points on the board.
8-0 on that last jam, and we've got a 4-point game, 41-45, 12:34 on that clock.
Rydell Skates, you know it at home. Say it with me. Unmatched quality, unmatched performance. Rydell Skates, made in the USA and made for Derby.
You should do voiceovers for them.
I'd do it.
Oh, you know, if someone from Minnesota isn't available to do it. Kenbo Slice on the line for the Shock Exchange. He is jamming against number 66, Rufio.
And Rufio is your lead jammer. Way to come off the line there. Kenbo Slice with just 2 to beat at the front side of the pack there. As Rufio's already around, it's like he's got some fairy dust sprinkled on him before he is flying around the track.
Kenbo Slice forced to restart at the back of the pack. That's at number 50, Mr. Taco, knocking him to the outfield and headed to the penalty box for a back block.
Rufio, meanwhile, through that pack. 5 more points go on the board for Texas. And we lose number 1775, G.I. Joel, to the penalty box as well, as Kenbo Slice still working his way through. Only 2 Texas blockers left and only 1 for him to beat. But number 32 is giving him a hard time. Kyle Divers does not want to let him get through there.
Great setup of the brace there at the top of the pack. Only 2 people keeping Kenbo Slice contained, one of the strongest jammers on NYSE. And he's going to, and Rufio's going to pick up another 5 points in the meantime.
There was a lot happening there. 32, Kyle Dybers did get a forearm call while holding back Kenbo Slice, and Rufio comes back into the pack there. Takes a big hit, goes down. He goes ahead and calls off the jam, but he does pick up another 3 points on the pass. He looks like he's doing okay. I know he just recently came back from knee surgery. It looks like he's got his brace on right now, so maybe it's just giving him some trouble.
18 points for him, though, in that last jam, so it's not too much trouble.
Not too much, you're right.
63-41, 10 minutes left in the half, and on that La Beta Roller Derby jammer line, we've got Carnage Asada up against Buster.
Carnage Asada blasts off the line right into Texas's wall. A little bit of a tangle up there, but he is through. Lead jammer, Shock Exchange.
Buster taking another run at the Shock Exchange defense. They all building a line brace as Carnage Asada picks up a forearm penalty. We've got 1:30 on that jam clock, so we will watch the remainder of this marathon jam. Buster tapping the front of his helmet for a second there as he smooshes up into that wall of white. Rhino coming in to clear things out, but he was clearing things out from the center as Buster was heading around the outside edge, so kind of ending up blocking for the Shock Exchange there.
Yeah, it really helped Maul and Brando drive him the rest of the way off the track there. So it didn't work out in their favor. Now, Buster does have the helmet cover off. It looks like he may seriously be considering passing to Johnny Turbo, but it has not happened now, and Johnny kind of back there just in case he changes his mind.
Carnage Asada taking a fall here between turns 1 and 2. He kind of knocked his face on the track, but he kind of shook it off, gets back up, and now he's up at the top of the pack contending with Dallas. Malcolm Sachs clearing number 86 Buster with the helmet cover in his hand out to the center, and as we have Carnage Asada picking up 5 points.
And Carnage Asada back around. Now this time he had no trouble getting through there, just juked right to the outfield. 5 more points go on the board. And Buster still at the back of that pack, still struggling to make his way out. He is starting to look like he is pretty winded. Carnage Asada, though, keeps on driving through. He gets back into the pack as the jam comes to its end.
For another single point.
That's what I was waiting for. 1 more point on the board. An 11-point jam and a 30-second break in between. So not a bad jam for the Shock Exchange. 52-63, 7:53 remaining on the clock.
You know, we always as announcers praise a good water-falling pack when players fall forward or backward to continue battering jammers. But, you know, at that point, towards the end there, I think Buster just wasn't having it anymore. Dr. Feelgood on the line for Dallas up against Jonathan R.
Yeah, as you can see at home right on the screen, these are some tough packs to get through. Dr. Feelgood recycled. Jonathan R. already around and now in for another scoring pass all the way around for that. 5 points. They just left that outside lane wide open for him, and he'll take it if you leave it open.
2 blockers on the track for Dallas. One decides to play offense, one plays defense, and the one playing offense, G.I. Joel, is going to head to the penalty box. If you're counting at home, this will be his 4th trip.
That leaves just Tip on the track, and Jonathan R. is able to break his way through for another 5 points. Dr. Feelgood still stuck in there looking for a way to get out of the pack as Jonathan R. comes back in and gets right on through for another 5, and Rhino comes back and then goes right back to the Derby Elite penalty box.
Jonathan R. is sitting on 20 points right now presently for this jam. He's got one person to beat. That's Tip up at the top of the pack. And he does another 5 points, 25 points total. G.I. Joel back in from the penalty box. We have 40 seconds still remaining in this jam, but Jonathan R. picking up a back block penalty. That means we are going to have a power jam advantage Dallas. Oh, hang on. That was someone else's back block. I
I
apologize.
think the back block went to G.I. Joel. So Jonathan R. is still making points here, and he gets out. Another 5 go on the board as Dr. Feelgood still struggling, still with the helmet cover in hand, is knocked to the outfield and going to recycle. He is having a tough time. New York is really bringing the defense in this particular jam, and it's paying off because Jonathan R. has now been able to put up 34 points in that one jam. And that means we've got another lead change. 63-86 Shock Exchange in the lead with 5:35 remaining on the clock. And we are going into a team timeout for the Texas Outlaws.
Yes, certainly a good time to take that team timeout. I think Texas allowing New York kind of to get into their minds a little bit. I'm seeing them kind of almost flinch or pause, at least their jammers, before they kind of hit into that wall again. You know, the Shock Exchange founding team.
Yeah, and I think Little Murder Maid was probably thinking the same thing. She's like, now would be a good time for us to take a break, get our heads back together, let's get Shock Exchange out of our heads and get back into this game. Because Shock Exchange has done some really good work here in the last few jams, and it shows that they're wearing down on Texas. Let's tell you this team timeout brought to you by ArmorFlex. The new era of protective gear provides the added protection to withstand any hit from the competition. ArmorFlex has got you covered.
And on that La Beta Roller Derby jammer line, we have I Am Havoc for the New York Shock Exchange.
And Lucky Charmer with the star for Texas. Now, I'm Havoc right there on that inside line. He manages to stay in even though he goes down. He's able to get right back up and continue. But Lucky Charmer's going to break that inside line for lead jammer for Texas.
I think Lucky Charmer just saw his out and he took it. G.I. Joel setting up a brace with Kyle Divers.
And Lucky Charmer comes in. He was knocked to the infield there. He's going to go ahead and reset himself, start the journey back through. He's got some time, though, as I Am Havoc just now breaks the pack. Lucky Charmer makes his way all the way through for 4. Both jammers start approaching the pack. And a big hit from number 18, Uncle Jesse McNasty. Sends I Am Havoc out as Lucky Charmer comes through, putting up another 4 points on the board for Texas. Another big hit by Uncle Jesse McNasty. Sends I Am Havoc to the infield again. And he's going to go through now. A Lucky Charmer goes to step over the pack at that inside line. And unfortunately, 1 foot touches down in the infield. He's going to go sit down in the Derby Elite penalty box.
Means we're going to go the remainder, the 37 seconds here. So we'll see Lucky Charmer back in for 7 seconds of the jam. If I Am Havoc does not garner a penalty, of course. I Am Havoc, though, lost his shuffle at the top of the pack. He goes ahead and skates past, but does not skate past cleanly. Track cut for I Am Havoc releases Lucky Charmer back into play. We've got roughly about, we've got 7 seconds left in the jam. We are going to see the jam likely time out before Havoc is released. Oh, Havoc being released right at the end of the jam. 3 more points that he was holding on to headed into the penalty box. And 11 points total for Lucky Charmer on the jam. 74-89 now. 15 points separating these teams and 14 seconds, 3 minutes and 15 seconds on the game clock.
We know how to read clocks here. Sometimes.
Hey, I'm right twice.
I'm with you. That's all that matters, right?
Texas fielding, Rufio on the line up against Carnage Asada.
Carnage Asada on that outside line, not afraid to throw a shoulder hit, but Tip able to withstand those shoulder hits and hold it back, and now he's kind of stuck behind Tip and Mr. Taco.
Rufio taking a long run for it and just says, I'll just bypass the Shock Exchange. Oh, and we have a failed uniform assist there for Carnage Asada. He sends himself to the infield there with a block on the person's body that was assisting him as Rufio comes around and picks up 5 points for Texas.
That looked like a painful landing, but Rufio is anything but in pain right now. He just slides right through the pack for another 5 points. Carnage Asada is still fighting off that 4 wall and continuing to struggle.
Rufio up to the top of the pack. Sammy has to let him go. 5 points. Huge rally here for Dallas as the jam clock ticks down to 44 seconds. Rufio making another run at it as Carnage Asada handing off the start to number 9, Kenbo Slice. Kenbo Slice out of the pack and ready to score. So Rufio says, all right, we'll take it back to Neverland, picks up 2 points and calls it off.
With those 2 points now, that's going to be another lead change. Just waiting for the scored update. There we go. 89-91, just 2 points separating the teams. And we're going to take a team timeout for Shock Exchange. So probably a similar strategy here. Now Texas has come and gotten into their game. So Shock Exchange going to recollect and come back here. With just 1:29 left in the half, we'll see if they can at least tie it up or maybe overtake Texas once again. I can't even keep track of how many lead changes there have been here in this game.
We have actually had 5 lead changes. That's why I am here for you, Bangers and Smash.
And that's why I love you, Miscommunication, because I know I can depend on you for those kind of stats.
Yes, we just have to hope that my right hand never gets broken.
If it does, we'll make sure we get you a transplant or something.
A transplant?
They transplant everything these days, right?
There is a scary movie about that, Smash. A scary, scary movie about that. We are going to come back from the Shock Exchange timeout. Jonathan, we're going to have an official review from Dallas.
So I suppose we could also do a Luke Skywalker thing for you. Get you a mechanical hand. Oh, come on. You know Star Wars.
Yes, I know Star Wars. But doesn't that mean I go to the dark side if I get a mechanical hand?
No, Luke Skywalker was never a dark side person.
Oh, that's right. He wasn't a dark side person mostly.
At least as far as we know.
He was just a whiny brat. Oh, did I say that out loud? Oh, pardon me.
You're going to get so much hate mail on your Twitter. So much hate mail on your Twitter.
My producer, Mr. Pink, is saying that he might mute me, but he can never shut me up. I will always talk. I will be heard. Miss Trial holding up her microphone. I'm going to try and put my listening ears on. I apologize, folks. We have, so our sound system here on the track is behind plexiglass. And at the beginning of the tournament, the speakers were turned down so that the officials and EMTs could hear people talking and the players. And so as a result, when Miss Trial speaks into the microphone, I can't always hear what she's saying. So I heard something, 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 jammer. So I will guess that Dallas is requesting a penalty on Kenbo Slice. Perhaps we will have, we actually have an alt ref out in the center of the track who has been very helpful to us here on broadcast, and she should come back and give us the whole story. With its ever-growing membership expanding worldwide, the MRDA is excited to announce it will be holding 3 playoff tournaments to determine who qualifies for the 2016 championships. 2 of the playoffs will be held in North America and 1 held in Europe. Bidding for the tournaments will begin shortly. Does your local MRDA league want to host one? Denver. Excuse me.
So I know the results of the official review were no call stands. I did hear that. Unfortunately, I apologize. Neither of us were able to understand what the official review was for.
But we do know that Dallas has lost their official review, and we are back on the line. Jonathan R. for the Shock Exchange, and the enabler for Dallas or for Texas. I don't know why I keep saying Dallas. I apologize.
It's in the same state. They're both out, and tip goes to the penalty box. Both jammers coming in for some score. Abe Drinkin holds up the enabler at the back of the pack. Jonathan R. just walks right through for 4 points on the board for Shock Exchange.
The Enabler still tussling with the Shock Exchange as Jonathan R. does his Jonathan Ariest and picks up another 5 points.
That's it. And there was that thumbs up for everybody.
Jonathan R. now in the fray, getting stuck behind Rhino and number 32, Kyle Divers. Shock Exchange losing one blocker to the penalty box. The Enabler still working his way up to the top of the pack. Abe Drinkin, though, in his way.
And there he's out now for 4 points. Jonathan R., though, able to match him and get all the way back around. Going to call off the jam and put up another 3 points on the board. So good gain there by the Shock Exchange. 95-106. Another lead change now, this time in the favor of the Shock Exchange, as the time is going to tick down, and we have reached halftime, ladies and gentlemen. Now, talking penalties, a little heavier on the Texas side. We've got 25 penalties for Texas, 16 penalties for Shock Exchange. Nobody in real big trouble. A few fours on the Texas side. Only 1 4 right now on the New York side. But I think everybody can probably make it safely through this half without any concerns about fouling out.
I actually will probably put money on at least 2 members of Texas fouling out, just based on the fact that we've had a couple of members of the Texas team foul out in every game this weekend that they've played. But penalty management starts with you, and it could start now. On the line, we got Jonathan R. and up against Dr. Feelgood. Feelgood out and a lead.
Very fast way through the pack. Jonathan R. not finding it quite as easy to break out of that pack. He is stuck at the top side of the pack, but he does find his way around and now out and eligible to score as Feelgood in for a scoring pass. Back and forth across those lines and calls off the jam. Did manage to pick up all 4 points before calling off the jam.
All 4 of his points takes Texas to 99. Shock Exchange still at 106, 29, 23, ticking down on that game clock. The MRDA would like to thank Turn Left. If we don't have what you need, we will ship it to you for free within the United States. That's a Turn Left.
Up next to jam, it is Lucky Charmer, number 8 with the star for Texas, and it is Carnage Asada, number 833F. With lead jammer now, he breaks that front side of the pack just briefly before Lucky Charmer does. Now they're both racing toward the pack basically waiting for him. Carnage Asada in 1 point, calls off the jam just in time to keep Lucky Charmer from putting any points on the board for Texas.
107.99, now 28:31 on the clock. Obviously, both teams regrouped, brought it back together. Texas losing number 18, Uncle Jesse McNasty, to the Derby Elite penalty box there between jams.
Roller Derby Elite, the brand that defines sport, official sponsor of Men's Team USA Roller Derby for Derby skaters by Derby skaters. Roller Derby Elite.
And the 2 elites on the jammer line are Jonathan R., number 6 in white, out and lead. And he's jamming against Dr. Feelgood.
Dr. Feelgood also escaping the pack, but there is about a half a track between the two, so Jonathan R. safely able to go in there, take his time working on picking up those points before he calls it off. He does manage to get 2 points before that call-off comes, so New York able to advance their position just a little bit more.
110-99. These teams still so close together right now. Very cozy.
I would venture to guess that there are probably people who are fans of both teams sitting on their edge of their couches right now, screaming at their TV because that score is where it's at right now.
And by the way, thank you to the WFTDA for hosting us on WFTDA TV. I am Havoc out in front and lead. He is jamming against the Enabler, number 151, who is out and ready to score.
I am Havoc, though, already back around on a scoring run. He's taken a couple of big hits there. He calls off the jam, 2 points on the board. Enabler able to make it all the way around and put up 1 point for Texas. So just a 1 point gain there by the Shock Exchange. 112, 100, 26-42 on the clock.
Great job there by I Am Havoc. He kind of darted into the center a little fast, kind of almost, ran into an official, making sure that the official was okay and saying that he was sorry so that, no penalties could happen there.
Always wise to treat your officials nicely.
It is always wise to treat your officials nicely. Texas fielding Buster number 86, and he is jamming against...
That's Carnage Asada with the star, really fighting that front wall there, and he breaks his way through. Lead jammer and a power jam as a forearm is called on Buster. So now Shock Exchange has an opportunity to open up their lead some.
Shock Exchange looking to open up their lead, but Texas speeding up the pack. And that is G.I. Joel managing the nudge to the inside on Carnage Asada. He'll have to restart at the back of the pack.
And he comes in, Kyle Divers ready to catch him, and now Kyle Divers doing a good job of just staying right on top of him. And now they've got a nice braced two-wall at the front side of the pack there as they start to bridge out.
Great flinging around there right now. G.I. Joel working as the top of the brace. Carnage Asada looking to move sideways there and does not manage to do it. We've got a clockwise block, though, sending G.I. Joel out as the pack backs up. Buster back in. Great penalty kill by the Texas defense.
And Buster able to break his way right out, so he's going to force that call off. So just a 5-point gain for the Shock Exchange on that jam. That's going to put us at 117-100 with 24:42 remaining.
Only 17 points separating these two teams. Who knows who is taking home the bronze? Hopefully we'll know in 24 minutes and 30 seconds.
I'm almost sure I can guarantee you that we'll know in 25 minutes.
In 25 minutes.
I'm just going to give time for that unofficial score to become an official score.
Officially, we've got Jonathan R. jamming in this next jam against Dr. Feelgood. And Feelgood continuing his run at lead jammer status for this jam, but Jonathan R. out and putting on the pressure.
Jonathan R. actually closing up that gap as they're making their way toward that really fast-moving pack. Feelgood coming in. He's going to give up some points, it looks like, because his dudes were all at the back there, and it looks like we're going to have 2 and 3 on it. So Jonathan R. actually able to come out with a gain of 1 point for the Shock Exchange in that jam.
You got to watch sneaky Jonathan R. He'll steal points from you, especially if your team members are at the back of the pack and you have someone in the penalty box. So if you have 2 people at the back of the pack and you're fast approaching the pack, it might be smarter to just go ahead and call off the jam so that they don't become points.
It happens sometimes, though. Up next on the line, we've got I Am Havoc and Rufio taken off immediately from that Lebeda Roller Derby jammer line, and now in the fray.
I Am Havoc working up to the top of the pack. He kind of does the limbo on the side and puts 2 hands out of bounds, so forced to restart.
Rufio already restarting twice, now back on in for a 3rd try at getting this pass out of the pack. He's kind of holding to the middle there and able to break his way right through for lead jammer. I Am Havoc, though, spins out after a hit right at the top of the pack. He's out and ready to score, chasing down Rufio now.
Rufio continuing that 100% lead jammer percentage for those who are playing at home. Rufio hits the pack, calls it off before I Am Havoc has a chance to pick up a point. 1 point for Rufio, so he took back the point that Jonathan R. stole in the previous jam. 103 to 120, 22-25 left in the game.
Lucky Charmer versus Kenbo Slice on the line.
Kenbo Slice looking for it on the inside, but he gets slammed out of bounds by Rhino just as Lucky Charmer makes his way through the pack and becomes lead jammer for Texas.
Kenbo Slice still on an initial pass, trapped on that outside line. Lucky Charmer back and forth looking for a magical way out of that pack. And he almost does so, but he's shoved to the outfield by number 10, Wolverine. And now he's going to be recycled all the way back behind Sammy Dangerfield.
New York Stock Exchange losing number 10, Wolverine, to the penalty box for a low block. Charmer now looking to move his way up. He is, at the very least, shoving the Stock Exchange blockers up to the top of the pack.
And now he's just got one to beat. There he is. He's through past Marlon Brando for 5 more points on the board for Texas, looking to close that gap up. Star now passed to Sammy Dangerfield. He is now the scoring jammer. He's out and ready to score. Lucky Charmer threw for 4. I'm not sure if he knows that Sammy is now the jammer.
Lucky Charmer probably looking to run that clock, maybe in hopes that Sammy, who we haven't seen jam very often, would maybe pick up that penalty. But also now, I mean, Lucky Charmer just completing his 3rd scoring pass for 4 points, with Sammy still in the fray on his 1st scoring pass.
Not a bad idea to see if your blockers can hold on to that pivot, become jammer, because you never know. You're right. That was a great strategy there. He was able to get some points ahead while his blockers are able to hold on to Sammy in the pack.
Got a multiplayer block being called on number 14, Marlon Brando. He'll head to the Derby Elite penalty box as Lucky Charmer decides to stop being recycled, calls off the jam, gets 3 points, 4 points for the New York Stock Exchange.
That score gets ever closer, 124-119 with still 19:55 in the period.
Right, that shot of Egon, our good friend with the whiteboard on the side saying he's up all night to get lucky. Sounds like maybe our in-house DJs were playing a little Get Lucky song. Under 20 minutes remaining here. The pack up at the Antic pivot line. We've got Carnage Asada on the line up against Dr. Feelgood.
Carnage Asada facing off against those 3 at the top there. Kind of falls over number 5, Tip, but recovers really quickly. He's still stuck there. Dr. Feelgood going to pick up a forearm call on his way through the pack, meaning it's a power jam. Carnage Asada still on his initial pass.
Carnage Asada working his way up to the top of the pack, but all 4 Dallas blockers are in. Right now, though, number 68, Diamond, caged by the New York Stock Exchange defense. Instead of playing offense, they decided to just trap one of the Texas players at the back. Carnage Asada breaking free from the pack becomes a lead jammer. We've got 1 minute and 2 remaining in this jam with Feelgood on his feet, and Carnage Asada picks up a track cut. Dr. Feelgood all the way already in from the penalty box, so Asada will sit for the full 30 seconds in theory.
Now, Shock does have a full 4 blockers on the floor, so it is going to be a trial for Dr. Feelgood to get through there. He's already recycled and now starting through that pack again, getting some offensive help. He's able to get it on the outside line. He's out and ready to score now for Texas.
Score right now, 119-124. Carnage Asada just getting to his feet in the penalty box. Feelgood hoping to get a decent scoring run, and he does. That's a grand slam for Texas.
I love how he does the bob and dip through the pack there. That just makes it look so pretty when he walks through to get all those points. Carnage Asada back from the penalty box right into number 50, Mr. Taco on the outside line. Jam comes to an end. We got 1 more point for Dr. Feelgood, 2 more points for Carnage Asada. End of jam summation, 2-6 and a 1-point game. 1 point separating these 2 teams with still 17 minutes to go for the bronze medal 3rd place win.
Don't worry, Smash. I'm still tracking how many lead changes we've had.
I'm sure you were. Do you want to update us or you want to save it for a minute?
Well, we had 6 lead changes in the first half. And we'll see if we have one now with Jonathan R. on the line for the Stock Exchange. He will jam against Lucky Charmer.
Lucky Charmer, unlucky, taken to the infield there, but then restarts, and almost lucky there, but again taken out by Kenbo Slice this time. and picking up a cutting the track penalty as he re-enters the track just a little too soon. Off to the box you go. Jonathan R. with a 30-second power jam.
You may have noticed that Kembo Slice was standing upright when he re-entered, and then he squatted down, moving his hips backwards, and that's what caused that track cut to be drawn. 2 Shock Exchange blockers, though, in the penalty box right now, as Jonathan R. has a full 4 contingency from Texas to deal with. He fights up to the top against Johnny Turbo. Turbo, the last one to beat here, as Rhino is fighting his way up to be part of the pack. And we've got a destruction of pack penalty being assessed to Rhino. Rhino in too much of a hurry to get up to the top of the pack to assist his teammate. And we've got an out of play penalty being called on number 57, Johnny Turbo. The crowd did not like that one. And I didn't quite see how many white lines were there, Smash.
You know, it's tough to tell from this angle. Jonathan R. did make it out, got lead jammer, got all the way around, put 5 points on the board. It did take 1 minute and 20 seconds for him to get out of that defensive wall, though. So I gotta hand it to Texas's defense there.
131, 125, 15 and change on the clock. We are going to have an official timeout.
During this official timeout, I want to tell you about an exciting event coming at your way in 2016. The Men's Roller Derby World Cup will be held next summer in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, July 21st through 24th. 4 days, 22 countries, spanning 6 continents, and they'll be sending their finest to battle it out for the title of world champions. For tickets or more information, you can go to mrdwc.com or mensrollerderbyworldcup.com. 73 games in 4 days, ladies and gentlemen.
We are back from Dallas's timeout. Dallas probably just looking for a little regroup there. Just a regroup. It's okay, guys. We went to the box 2 jams in a row, and now we're not going to go to the box as jammers. Okay? Okay. We've got one person in a little bit of penalty trouble, actually a couple of guys. We've got G.I. Joel with 5 penalties, Malcolm Sex with 5 as well from the Shock Exchange. And that is I Am Havoc out in front and lead jammer. He is jamming against the Enabler, who is also out and ready to score.
I Am Havoc, though, already all the way around looking to put points on the board for the Shock Exchange. He's through. That's going to put 4 on the board. As the Enabler approaches the backside of the pack, he decides to keep on going. The Enabler is trapped. Might be a good move, a good call there by I Am Havoc as he gets in ready for more score.
The Enabler joining as a blocker, as we had 2 blockers in the penalty box for Texas. Now that we've got some returns from the box, we've got a 3-wall up at the top of the pack as I Am Havoc contending with those blockers. The thing he's going to have to watch out for here is to not pick up a penalty, because he does take that risk in keeping the clock running.
The Enabler takes a big hit to the infield. He's recycled. I Am Havoc is also recycled. He decides he doesn't want to keep going backwards, so he's going to go ahead and call off the jam. That was an 8-4 jam, so 4-point game for the Shock Exchange during that jam.
138, 129, 14 and 3 on that game clock. If you're just tuning in, you are joining us here in the second half of the 3rd place game here at the 2015 MRDA Championships. And stepping up to that Lebedo Roller Derby jam line is Carnage Asada in white up against Rufio in black.
Neither jammer finding much purchase as we get into turn 2 on the track. A little bit of falls and spills as they make their way through, but it looks like Carnage Asada with some beautiful footwork, and then a death drop onto the track. Lead jammer, he recovers from that death drop pretty quick.
Oh my gosh, he fell on his little leg, and I was like, oh no, oh no. Rufio out and ready to score as well. Carnage Asada, though, nudged to the infield and says, all right, that's enough. 3 points for the Shock Exchange. They go ahead and lengthen their lead, 141-129. Sometimes I worry. I have kind of a worrying head, Smash.
I can understand that, but that was like a perfectly executed death drop, if you're familiar with that term. It looked beautiful but also scary considering you have wheels on your feet and there were a whole pack of people coming at you.
We've got another team timeout being called for Texas. Texas using their second team timeout. Shock Exchange still has 2 team timeouts left. Texas probably looking to bring it in yet again. Have some chats with the players. We've got Jonathan R. clapping on the line there, getting all figured out as the and on your screen, of course, you can see the officials circling up to have a little chit chat while we are waiting for that team timeout to end.
And this team timeout is brought to you by Powerdyne. Cutting edge designs, cutting edge performance. Performance plates for the modern derby game. Powerdyne.
And coming back from that timeout, the pack inching toward that antic pivot line. Looks like we're going to have a bit of a antic pivot line start here for this jam. Jonathan R. on the line in white up against Dr. Feelgood in black.
Jammer's going to get a little head starting run, and you don't want to do that for Jonathan. He's going to take advantage, jumps that inside apex, and lead Jammer immediately to Jonathan R. Now, not far behind, Dr. Feelgood gets out of the pack, but then he takes a spill, so that increases the distance, giving Jonathan R. time to get in that pack, put some points on the board, call it off, and that's going to be 3 points for Jonathan R.
144, 129, 15 points separating these two teams. We've got 12 minutes left in the game, and we've got an official timeout being called. I'm looking at my penalty counts right now to see if maybe something needs to be shuffled around, but nobody went to the penalty box in that last jam.
Yeah, nothing that I can readily see. It looks like maybe some concern about equipment malfunction or something on the track. I see the refs grabbing some paper towels, so maybe some wet spots
turn
somewhere.
Turn 3 to turn 4. We have had two people recently fall between turn 3 and turn 4 in the last jam, Carnage Asada, and then Dr. Feelgood did take a digger off of turn 3. Perhaps the track looking a little slick out there. So Dallas coach out on the track to chit-chat with her team members, give them a little additional coaching while we do the track maintenance.
And this official timeout is brought to you by Quick Bearings. When you want quality, think quick. Roll faster and farther with Quick Ceramic Bearings.
We have had a great weekend here in St. Louis. I have been bragging on Facebook that I picked the correct postseason tournament to attend this year. Thank you so much for tuning in to us, to our coverage here on WFTDA.tv. And a special thanks to Mr. Pink and his crew setting up our broadcast here from St. Louis.
Doing such a beautiful job bringing us to all you folks who weren't able to make it down here to see the action live. And I'll tell you what, I hope that the action on your TV is just as great, and I'm pretty sure it is from what I can see here in the venue.
Kenbo Slice coming to the line for the Shock Exchange up against Lucky Charmer for Texas.
And we're off. Kenbo Slice comes right up into Texas as well. And Lucky Charmer just kind of driving on that Shock Exchange wall, and then gets kind of trapped in his own wall, but he's out first. Lead Jammer going to Texas.
Lucky Charmer using that signature, I'll just push you, and then you'll be out of my way, as Tip says, no, come on back here, please.
Lucky Charmer through. He's taken to the infield. A no pass, no penalty means he's able to get out. He was awarded all 5 points, which means he passed everybody before he was hit to the infield.
Carl LeFou sent to the penalty box as Kenbo Slice is free and ready to score points. Carl LeFou picking up his 5th penalty, so in a little bit of penalty trouble. Now both jammers around for score. Lucky Charmer going to come on out the front side of the pack. That's going to be 4 more on the board for Texas. Lucky Charmer staring intently at the scoreboard as he passed it after that pass. Kembo Slice putting the star back on his helmet. He's going to go ahead and back up behind Tip as Slice goes ahead and puts the star into his hand. Again, 4 more points for Lucky Charmer.
It looks like in an effort to shut down this points game, they've passed on to Abe Drinkin. 2 points earned before the star pass. And, oh my goodness, we got a high block call on Lucky Charmer. So now power jam for Abe Drinkin, who is now the active jammer for the Shock Exchange.
When you go for that lead change by looking at the scoreboard, you have to remember that you take that risk of getting a penalty as well when you keep that running. Abe Drinkin out there. We've got 7 seconds ticking down on that period clock. That means the Shock Exchange will start the next jam in a power start advantage. As that clock runs out, Abe sitting, or Lucky Charmer sitting on 1 point headed to the penalty box, and Abe Drinkin picking up 4 more points before the jam was complete.
That's going to put us at 143 to 150 with 9:48 remaining on the clock. A power start for Jonathan R. And, yeah, Shock Exchange has an opportunity here to once again increase their lead.
7-point lead, and Jonathan R. getting lead jammer status before the pivot line.
That's always nice to do, and he is so fast, right around there, and he ducks down. He is taken out by Rhino. He's able to get right back on the track behind Rhino and continue his journey through, and he's done. 5 points on the board for Jonathan R.
Power jam is over as Lucky Charmer in the fray, out and ready to score points. Jonathan R. going for the apex jump, runs into G.I. Joel. He will pick up a misconduct for contact while both of his skates were off of the ground.
Lucky Charmer, meanwhile, now on a scoring pass, recycled by Sammy Dangerfield, and he is back up and getting ready to go out. It looks like G.I. Joel has taken himself out of the jam off to the side. Some medics are going to take a look at him, but he wanted to make sure the jam could continue. And that's good because Lucky Charmer now has been able to put 5 points on the board and 2 Shock Exchange blockers now off to the box.
Pivot Malcolm Sex to the box with his 6th penalty of the game. Sammy Dangerfield as well joining him. Huge pileup on turn 4. We've got a forearm penalty being dealt out in that trip over someone else in a white jersey off of turn 4. Charmer will go ahead and go to the penalty box for that forearm. Jonathan R. will be released. And a forearm penalty being dealt out to Tip. We've got G.I. Joel on the side, and he's blinking kind of slowly and shaking his head, so I don't like to see that. Number 18 for Texas, Uncle Jesse McNasty sent out to the penalty boxes. Jonathan R. picks up 5 points.
Jonathan R. going to keep skating as the jam clock ticks down. I see Lucky Charmer released right at the last second there. Whistle blows. 0-0 on the last passes there. But overall, the jam comes out 10-5, 160-148. Shock Exchange still with a tenuous lead and 7 minutes to go in play.
A tenuous lead indeed, but I saw it get very messy with Dallas. So see, Dallas, for the most part, when they're focused, they're controlled. They have all of their blockers out on the track, and they're fine. But when they are not, they are not. And I am Havoc picking up lead jammer. He is jamming against Rufio.
And, you know, Shock Exchange has really turned on their defense this time and been able to sit on and pull power jams from the Texas Jammers. Now Rufio struggling to get through that pack. Continuous kind of waterfalling to the front there by Shock Exchange. I am Havoc able to get through for 5 points. He looks to the bench. The bench tells him to go, and now they're saying to call it as Rufio comes up for a scoring run right at the back of the pack. Whistles blow 0-0 on the last pass, but another 5-point advance for the Shock Exchange.
Score now 148-165. Shock Exchange on top, and I think Shock Exchange showing, you know, most of the gentlemen on this roster have been playing together since the Shock Exchange started. And you're seeing a lot of that experience like, okay, guys, we got this. Let's play defense. But right now, Shock Exchange down 2 blockers in the penalty box. Abe Drinkin sitting on 5 now penalties. And Kembo Slice wearing that pivot cover. So we've got 2 blockers out there, and Dr. Feelgood makes good, fast work of those blockers. He is skating against Carnage Asada, who
is going to pick up a cutting the track penalty there. He was driven out by Diamond, and then he looked back. I think he thought Diamond went to the infield, but apparently Diamond did not. Power jam Texas. This is what Texas needs. Feelgood with 5 points already on the board.
Feelgood already with 5 points on the board. He goes ahead and re-enters the pack and pushes up against that Shock Exchange defense, and he breaks free, and we've got 10 points on the board for Texas, 158-165 now, heading into his 3rd points pass.
Carnage Asada now standing and release from the box. He's on his way back to the track. Feelgood, though, up in the front there, starting to break apart the Shock Exchange wall.
Feelgood bracing himself up on his toe stops, fighting for some room on the correct side of the tape. He does make it that time. Carnage Asada still on his initial scoring pass, so he will have to go ahead and pass the pack, or his initial pass. So he will have to complete his initial pass before he's ready to score points.
Feelgood there. That last one, he was down, and he wanted to play it safe, so he took himself to the outfield, and he recycled. And now he's going to have to start that journey back past all those blockers again. And Shock Exchange does not want to give him any points.
Kembo Slice taking the star from Carnage Asada is out and ready to score points. Dr. Feelgood goes ahead and calls off the jam. 5 points for Dr. Feelgood, 15 points on that jam. And we've got a 2-point game with 3:54 left in the game, 163-165. Shock Exchange tenuously holding the lead.
Tenuously, and you could tell the determination by both teams here. Nobody is giving up. Nobody's giving up an inch on this track. It is crazy. The crowd is loving it. I don't know if you could hear him just a minute, but yeah, clearly bigger in Texas now.
Egon, of course, telling us it's clearly bigger in Texas. The 2 things that you know about Egon, besides the fact that he plays for Twin Cities, is that he makes really good signs and he has really tasty candy with him.
We're going to get back into the action. It's going to be Rufio with the star for Texas. And actually, we're going to take a little break. Timeout being called by Shock Exchange. So both teams will be left after this timeout with 1 timeout and 1 official review left. 3 minutes and 35 seconds. I am like on the edge of my seat here.
Oh, the official timeout was called to do some track maintenance. Let's go ahead and take a look at some penalties here. Malcolm Sex in penalty trouble with 6. Carl LeFou with 5. We've got Lucky Charmer sitting on 6 penalties right now, and Uncle Jesse McNasty with 5. Kyle Divers and Tip sitting on 5. Also Diamond with 5, and Rhino with 5. We've got 6 people with 5 penalties.
That is just crazy. But I mean, if you look at the penalty play out here, you could see Shock Exchange has gotten their stuff together. Yeah, they've got some people up there near the top, but not quite as many as Texas. So Texas has really got to keep it well in this next 3:30.
Well, we've got 3:30 left. If you're like me when I was a kid, I just spent all my allowance. If your allowance is 7 penalties and you've got 5 with 3 minutes left, might as well take it and hopefully shut down Jonathan R., who's jamming for the Shock Exchange up against Rufio in this jam.
Rufio gets up front, but Kembo Slice really able to hold him there, and that gives long enough for Malcolm Sex to get up front and help him knock him to the infield. Texas, on the other hand, doing a really good job holding up Jonathan R., and now he's knocked to the infield by Tip as Rufio gets up front. Sammy Dangerfield, last line of defense. He is through. Lead jammer goes to Texas.
And the crowd is so loud. So loud. Egon waving his sign, clearly bigger in Texas as Rufio loops around. Jonathan R. still befuddled by that defense, does make it free, but Rufio puts up 5 points.
And it looks like Rufio's going to go ahead and call off that jam, and we have a lead change at 2:42 on the board, ladies and gentlemen. 165-168. Now Texas with a tenuous 3-point lead. 2 timeouts, 2 official reviews. This is getting crazy.
It's getting a little crazy. Should I take your blood pressure here real fast?
Maybe. And I apologize to all of those of you who have to turn down your volume because of me now.
I don't think you were yelling just yet. 168-165, 2 minutes and 16 seconds. And the jam is in play with Carnage Asada versus Dr. Feelgood.
And Carnage Asada knocked out hard to the outfield. He is going to be pulled way back. Now, that was Uncle Jesse McNasty once again. He's the guy you got to watch out for when he's out on that line. He can deliver a big, big hit.
Dr. Feelgood looking to make it all right up at the top of the pack. He's contending against number 164, Carl LeFou. He breaks free. Lead jammer, Texas. Carnage Asada still having some issues in the pack. G.I. Joel kind of grabbing his cheekbone there, but no penalty being called at this time. Carnage Asada handing off the star to Kenbo Slice. Kenbo Slice up at the top of the pack. He's out and ready to score points. Feelgood seeing that, pauses and looks at his bench, and they tell him to call off the jam. 3 points.
He just wanted to take a few more seconds off that minute and some that we've got left because it is a really close game. They don't want to take any chances right now, and the less clock time there is, the less they've got to worry about what's going to happen as the game continues. We do get a timeout called by the Shock Exchange, stopping the clock at 1:07. 165-171. Texas returning into the lead there in the last couple minutes and now trying to hold on to it.
G.I. Joel picking up his 6th penalty there at the end of the jam. He is in the Derby Elite penalty box. So Texas will start 1 blocker down after this team timeout being used for the Shock Exchange. I guess using your team timeout kind of takes a risk. You've got an official review left, which of course can stop the clock as well. I don't know, but 1:07, if you've got fast jams and fast call-offs, 1:07, we could fit 2 jams in here, maybe even 3.
Maybe 3, yeah. It's a danger you have to take, and that's why I'm glad I'm not a coach, and I just have to talk about what coaches do.
Right, I'm just going to talk about what coaches do and try and, just guess.
Yeah, we brain read. That's all we do.
The whole crowd chanting, Texas, 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 and Kenbo Slice on the line. Jonathan R. on the line. Kenbo Slice with the pivot cover, and Lucky Charmer jamming on 6 penalties.
Lucky Charmer coming in and getting in front. He is out and lead. Now all he really needs to do is stay clean and let that clock tick down. And if Jonathan R. gets out here, he just needs to keep matching points, and Texas has got it. But now Lucky Charmer does have 6 penalties, which means he's gets into trouble when he's in that pack.
Well, you run that risk because if he pulls a penalty in that pack, he will have his 7th penalty.
And there it is. That's a cutting the track penalty. He is not going to return. That's his 7th penalty. Jonathan R. now has control of this jam.
He will not return. We've got 1:14 on that jam clock and only 16 seconds on that period clock. We're going to go the remaining 1:07 without a jammer for Texas.
And Jonathan R. still on his initial pass. The Texas defense is laying all over him. They don't want to give him the opportunity to put this, but that's a minute plus that you've got to hold on to him. They did it earlier, 1:20 before he could get out and get lead earlier in the game. Let's see if they could do it now.
He gets nudged to the infield by Tip, so he's forced to restart. And then he's knocked out to the outfield by G.I. Joel. And Jonathan R. goes ahead and takes that star cover off. He drops it, though. I think Jonathan R. getting a little tired in the pack. He's looking for the handoff to Kenbo Slice. We've got a clockwise block being handed out as Kenbo Slice out and ready to score.
Now this could be the defining moment for the Shock Exchange. Kenbo Slice just needs to get in there and put points on the board for his team, but Tip does not want to let him go. Tip holding him there at the front just long enough for everybody else to come up. Forearm on Tip. Now it's just Rhino and Kyle Divers to go. He's through, and that is going to be 5 on the board, and the game comes to an end.
The game comes to an end with 5 points. Oh, and Lucky Charmer holding on to 5 points when he went into the penalty box. Final score, or the unofficial final, is going to be 176 for Texas, 170 for the New York Shock Exchange.
And that's quite the upset. Texas coming in, not having played these teams before, and knocking out a performer from prior years and taking the bronze medal here, assuming that the scores all come out final where they are.
Huge risk by Texas going ahead and running Lucky Charmer with those 6 penalties. Folks, we have a final score now, 176-170. Texas Men's Roller Derby, Texas Outlaws taking home the bronze here in St. Louis at the 2015 Men's Championships.
And it is really hard to hear anything in this venue right now. The crowd is just in love with Texas right now. Like we said, they came in, they formed up last year. They came into the tourney not having played any of the teams they were coming up against, and now they've proven that they deserve the invite to be here, and they're taking home a bronze.
They are taking home a bronze, and also only one player fouling out of the game, Lucky Charmer. I take back my comment. But you know what I said, folks. Penalty management, it starts with you, and it can happen now.
Amen.
Once again, we're going to see the Shock Exchange skate out and be congratulated on a hard-fought battle. Thank you so much for tuning into our coverage here of the 2015 Men's Championships in St. Louis. Coming up at 7 o'clock Central, you are going to have the championship game, which will pit a rematch of St. Louis's Gatekeepers against your mom men's roller derby. A lot on the line here. Your mom looking for a four-peat.
Yep, and St. Louis, in their home city, hosting the event, wants to take this trophy home that they've been working so hard to get.
Very much so. Make sure you tune in. I am going to go get my green and black shirt on. I'm Ms. Communication.
I'm Bangers and Smash.
And thank you so much.